Now, I don't know about you guys, but ever since we first got confirmation that the Skrulls would be making their way to the Marvel Cinematic Universe via Captain Marvel, I was eagerly waiting to see if they'd be bringing hints of one of my favorite Marvel stories with them, that being Secret Invasion. Just a quick recap in case you've never read it before. Basically, Secret Invasion was a storyline featuring Earth's superheroes realizing that alien shapeshifters called the Skrulls had secretly replaced various important figures all throughout Earth, up to and including a bunch of different superheroes, all as part of a plan to slowly but surely conquer the planet. Come on, how awesome of a movie would that be? Kinda like how The Winter Soldier was a great take on political thrillers, I've always thought a Secret Invasion movie could be the MCU's take on mind-bending, paranoia-filled sci-fi movies like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Jesus! Superheroes turning against each other, nobody knowing who they can trust, and even after the heroes win, public perception is still turned against them, giving future writers even more material to play around with in later movies. Fuck yeah, that sounds awesome! I would love to see that movie. Well, this one has aliens in it. Seriously though, as cool as an idea as this could have been, it turns out that the MCU Skrulls are actually relatively harmless, with their end goal apparently just being to settle on a new planet somewhere the Kree, the actual spacefaring assholes in the MCU, can't get to them.
Whoa, what?
But even with that in mind though, Kevin Feige's apparently still potentially keeping the door open for the MCU to do a Secret Invasion adaptation at some point. At least according to an interview he did with comicbook.com back in March, where he stated, "Just like not all humans are bad, and not all humans are good, I think Skrulls probably have a variety of moralities amongst them. When they can do what they can do, it probably gets very tempting. So it's fun to have introduced this concept and see where it goes." Now, I definitely don't want to disagree with the head honcho of the MCU or anything, but given what all we've seen from the MCU Skrulls at this point, it doesn't really seem like there's any motivation for them to want to invade Earth. I mean, in the comics, sure, the Skrulls are kinda dickish and already hated Earth and its superheroes, which I'm sure wasn't helped by Reed turning members of their species into cows, but a big part of why they made such a huge push to invade Earth at that point was desperation. Some of you old school comic fans might remember that the original Skrull homeworld was destroyed by Galactus in 1983's Fantastic Four number 257, and that most of the rest of their empire followed suit during the Annihilation event, leaving them without a place to call home. I'm sure it didn't help either that the Illuminati tried flying over and telling the Skrulls to piss off right after the Kree-Skrull War either, considering how it immediately got them captured and allowed the Skrulls to study them and get a lot of valuable data that helped in their infiltration. Thanks a lot, assholes. In the MCU though, things are totally different. Sure, we gotta mention that the Skrull homeworld was destroyed sometime before Carol Danvers got her powers, which not only could have made the Skrulls desperate enough to want to invade Earth, but also could have given them enough reason to hate it and its superhero population if the Fantastic Four got involved. But the thing is though, Talos hand-waved this away as part of all the stuff the Kree had been doing during the war. And considering how we never see the Skrulls getting rubbed the wrong way by any of Earth's heroes, along with the fact that they seemingly got a brand new homeworld at the end of Captain Marvel, it doesn't really seem like these guys would want to invade Earth at all. Hell, given what all we've seen in the MCU, not mentioning anything specific because of spoilers, it actually seems more like the Skrulls are on pretty friendly terms with Earth, considering how they've apparently been working with organizations like S.H.I.E.L.D. from time to time. Well, shit, I guess there's no way we'll ever see an MCU version of Secret Invasion happen then. Or could we? Well yeah, actually, there's a couple of ways we could still find some of our favorite characters getting replaced by aliens at some point or another. The easiest way would be to just bring in another group of evil Skrulls like what Kevin Feige was hinting at in that interview I mentioned earlier. Sure, it'd be a little convenient, considering we still haven't gotten any hints in universe about evil Skrulls yet, and there's nothing suggesting that any of these Skrulls would even be aware of Earth, and even if they were, there'd have to be a pretty good explanation for why these new Skrulls would want to try invading a planet that A, helped out other members of their species, and B, was previously capable of wiping out an entire army of invading Chitauri and Kree warships. It's very unlikely, but it could happen. On the other hand though, what if the real Skrull threat isn't one of those random pockets of Skrulls floating around out in space, but instead was a lot closer to home? What if Talos' daughter is actually the one who will kick off the MCU Secret Invasion at some point in the future?
Oh wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Now admittedly, this isn't actually my theory, I actually saw this on Reddit like months ago, and at first glance it does seem like a bit of a stretch, considering how this character got like next to no screen time, and her people, especially her dad, seem like they'd rather be the pacifist types. But the more I started thinking about it, the more I started getting convinced that this could be a possibility. Remember during the Skrulls' escape from the Kree on Mar-Vell's laboratory towards the end of the movie, and how Talos' daughter managed to see him killing a few Kree soldiers? Weirdly enough, for a group of peaceful refugees, she doesn't actually seem scared or anything. Seriously, what's with that creepy behavior from this kid? And on top of that, the little girl doesn't even have an actual name in this movie. She's never referred to by name at any point, and in the credits, she's only listed as Talos' daughter. Why? Why not give this character even just a throwaway name? Unless somebody behind the scenes at Marvel did give her a name, but it's a name that comic fans would have picked up on immediately, like the same queen of the Skrulls who led the invasion in the comics. Now, having said all this, I know somebody watching this video is going to be like, but comics, there's no way the Skrulls could ever be the bad guys in the MCU. Even if Talos' daughter was evil, the Skrulls are still scattered and nearly wiped out, and they seem more like peaceful refugees, and like you said earlier, there's literally zero motivation for any of the Skrulls to come back to Earth for any reason. And all of that is true, but keep in mind though, it's been over 20 years since these Skrulls managed to get off Earth and fly out into space somewhere. Assuming that Talos' daughter is the future Skrull Queen, she could have had enough time to grow up, further define her attitudes towards violence and peace through forcible means, and gather the pockets of Skrulls scattered across space to form the first Skrull Empire. Now, as for why she would choose to get wrapped up with Earth again, especially considering one of its superheroes was the one to save her and her family from the Kree, well, I have no idea. Maybe she gets the itch to start conquering worlds like the Skrulls in the comics, but starts to get shut down by her former friend and the newish team of Avengers. Or maybe the Skrull Empire isn't originally developed for conquest, but protection. Maybe Talos' daughter decides to gather up all the other Skrulls with the idea that they'd stand a better chance at fighting off the Kree as a single unit, but because of her attitude towards violence, the Skrull civilization ends up getting more and more ruthless like in the comics, forcing Carol and the other Avengers to step in and try to stop the Skrulls from completely wiping out the Kree. This could lead to some of them getting replaced and kickstarting the Secret Invasion too. Either way, this is one of the few times I'd actually be pretty excited for a Captain Marvel sequel, considering how we get an invasion of Skrulls, which is always awesome, as well as possibly an interesting wrinkle in Carol's story by forcing her to question if she did the right thing by helping the Skrulls in the first place. Kinda like when Tony made Ultron in the name of world peace. Honestly, there's plenty of ways a Secret Invasion of the MCU could go, and I am super excited to see what all Kevin Feige and the Marvel team decide to do with the Secret Invasion storyline. Assuming none of Earth's heroes were already swapped out with an evil Skrull off camera anyway. But anyways guys, that's my take on how the MCU could have a Secret Invasion story at some point in the future. If you guys agreed with anything I said in this video, or if you have your own thoughts you want to throw out there, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then go ahead and click that like button, and if you're new, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button too. I've also got links to my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Patreon in the description. You should probably check those out too. And if you want to see more of my content, then you can click the link to my last video. It's right there in the middle of your screen. Alright, and I will see you all next time.